Hey, my name is Mike Gonzalez, and I am an embodiment coach for my company, Path of Remembrance, where I help people restore their relationship with themselves, helping them create safety within, rebuild self trust, and return to presence so they can be present for the life that they're living. And I actually just got a question from What Men Don't Say. So the question for me is, was there ever a moment in your life when you felt completely broken and alone? What was happening in your life at that time? And can you share how you truly felt during that moment and what you had to do to find the strength to move forward? So, a time that I felt completely broken and alone would be during my fighting career because I had this image in my mind that fighting would make life fair. Life felt completely unfair to me to the point where it didn't matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, it seemed like nothing worked. And I had the best intentions to figure it out. It's something I thought about all day, every day was how to figure it out. And fighting was the only thing that made sense for me because it felt like the things that were out of my control, I could gain some control back because everything felt out of control. Finances, everything, like close relationships of how I wanted them to feel it didn't feel safe to open up, be vulnerable. So I just kept bottling stuff in. And I had so much anger, so much resentment towards everything. And over time, I found out towards myself. But it didn't matter how hard I tried and the wins that I got. The wins didn't mean anything because I will always just dissect them because nothing I did was enough. No win was ever enough. I just kept having to do more to try to be seen more by other people, but I wasn't seeing myself. And the hardest parts were the losses, were the things that I was trying to prevent to be seen were seen by others. And that was my efforts not giving me the outcome that I've tried so hard to get. And the loss I felt was a physical representation of that and losing in front of everybody. And the loss was the representation that I wasn't enough. That's how I internalized it. And there was support by the people that came to watch me. But ultimately, I had to sit with that loss by myself. And those were some dark moments of just sitting in my room and just going through a rabbit hole of why wasn't it enough? Why wasn't I enough? So, yeah, I would say my fighting career was definitely a tough moment because on the outside it looked like things were going well. I was very skilled, very talented, very prepared, but I did not feel any of those things. The praises that people gave me didn't even make it through, and I didn't believe it. I did and I didn't at the same time. So what was happening in your life at that time? I was struggling financially, and I got to realize over time it was, a representation of my inner stability. But yeah, struggling financially, trying to do everything I can to excel in fighting so I can get paid more because fighters really don't get paid that much. And I was willing to sacrifice myself. Nothing else mattered than the goal. So injuries, like I have a scar on my forearm because I broke my arm before I won one of my titles. And I didn't let it heal all the way because I didn't care about this. I didn't care about me. What mattered was becoming a champion becoming a champion meant freedom to me. So if I could free myself from the burdens of the financial hardships and the burdens of, you know, letting life get to me in the way where I was reacting to it, and in carrying that anger or resentment, pushing people away and not liking how those relationships were because I couldn't allow people to see me, because I couldn't even fully see me. I kept myself so busy with this pursuit of this goal of being the best, just so I wouldn't sit with that. And that was, in its own way, a healthy distraction, because physically I was fit and I was eating well and, you know, doing all the right things, but internally nothing felt right. I felt completely disconnected from myself, emotionally numb. I didn't care about how I felt physically, so I damn sure didn't care about how I felt mentally and emotionally. It was just about performance. And if it wasn't about performance, it didn't matter to me. Again, because I didn't matter to me. So that was what I was navigating at that time. And let's see. Can you share how you truly felt during that moment? That's what I meant as far as like, I didn't matter. And what you had to do to find the strength to move forward. The beautiful thing is I found life always finds a way to help you reconnect with yourself. So it seems like life is intense, and life was very intense for me. But the path of trying to become the best, in becoming the best, I was searching examples of that so I could know what the blueprint was. And in trying to improve myself in this constant state of improvement, I was learning about sports psychology. I was trying to figure out why I was being anxious, because I wanted to be able to perform so I can be a champion and continue to win and excel to get the outcome. But in the process of doing so, it led me down the path of self-development, personal development, personal growth, and spirituality as well. So it got me to really learn more about myself in different layers, deeper levels, so I can understand how to access the flow state. That was the surface level approach for me. And for me to also read the patterns of my opponents, because, you know, your opponent is improving with you. Well, at the same time as you, like as you're improving throughout camps, so is your opponent. But patterns, people can't hide. That's always going to be there. But in order for me to see the patterns in other people, I have to see the patterns within myself. So in a way, life was getting me to look within myself by studying my opponents and by trying to become the best. And over time, that showed me that I was using fighting to cope with the fact that I wasn't happy. And lockdown, as intense as that was for people, that was the most beautiful thing for me, because life forced me to sit down, and I couldn't distract myself with the healthy distractions of constantly training and getting ready for a fight. Even though I took a fight during lockdown, it still forced me to sit down and not run away from the fact that I just wasn't happy. And I knew it. I just didn't want to like really sit and acknowledge it. And when I did, I realized, okay, after some time, that I would have to retire, because I was more afraid to retire. I was more afraid of life without fighting, life without the distraction, than if I were to continue fighting moving forward, than any fight I've ever had. And I knew, had I continued fighting, yeah, most likely would have excelled. I was on path for UFC and a title that would lead me to go into the UFC. But I knew people would continue to be calling me a warrior. But deep down, I would be a coward, because I would be running from the very thing I was deathly afraid of, which is life without the distraction of fighting, which essentially was me fighting myself. So, yeah, that's what men don't say.